Yes, bye. The International Criminal Court is now in session. Ludian sa Court Penal International, 8th word. Please be seated.
Thank you very much. Court officer, please call the case.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La situation en République du Kenya dans l'affaire le procureur contre William Samoei Ruto et Joshua Arap Song. ICC 0109 0111. Nous sommes en audience publique.
Thank you very much. Appearances, please.
Mr. President, Your Honours, good afternoon. For the prosecution, Lucio Garcia, Regina Weiss, Grace Go, Peter Schotzman, and I'm Lorenzo Pugliati.
Thank you.
Mr. President, Your Honours, Austin Aransig and James Maria for victims. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honours. Appearances are the same for Mr. Ruto, save that we've been joined by our pro bono legal assistant, Ms. Peter Louise Baggett.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honours. For Mr. Song, the team remains the same.
Thank you very much. We ran slightly late. Apologies for that on account of the status conference in the Banda case, in which I also sit, and also Mr. Khan is also in that case as well. Witness, welcome back. Thank you for rejoining us. Ms. Lowry will continue her cross-examination. Just so we know the schedule for today's proceedings, you've been advised already that we will go on until 1:30, and we adjourn at that time. And then when we come back from lunch break, we will continue until 4:30 today. Ms. Lowry? We are in open session.
Mr. President, I'd request that we go into private session for approximately 7 to 10 minutes. But if it assists the court, most of my cross-examination I anticipate being able to conduct in public session, save for a final section at the end. So the vast majority should be in public.
And how much longer do you think you will stay with this witness?
I anticipate going into the second session, but likely not for long.
So we will be finishing today?
Yes.
Thank you. We will then go into private session for 5 to 7 minutes. Is that all right?
7 to 10, possibly.
7 to 10.
Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Ms. Lowry?
The first item I would seek to tender is a photograph that was shown to the witness on Friday. It's Ken D0900330007. We would seek this to be admitted as the next confidential Ruto to defence exhibit. The witness did recognise the individual who was shown in that photograph.
The prosecution is objecting with a reservation because it's not as unequivocal as my learned friend stated. It is the case that the witness recognized the individual. I think that the name of the individual can be discussed openly. The witness said that she recognized the photograph of Assistant Chief Mazwai. When my learned friend put another name, a fuller name to the witness did not accept that name. So that's our first reservation. We would accept it on the basis that it's a photo that the witness recognizes as Assistant Chief Mazwai. Our second reservation is to that individual's, the jurisdiction of that individual, the purported jurisdiction, because again, my learned friend put to the witness that this individual was the Assistant Chief for the Kimumu sublocation. And again, the witness was not in a position to confirm that. She stated she's not familiar with sublocations. So provided that the photograph is admitted as simply being Assistant Chief Maswai, we wouldn't object on that basis.
Ms. Lowry.
Mr. President, that's fine. That's what the witness testified to.
The photograph is then admitted with those considerations on the record as well.
The second item I would seek to tender is the photograph that the witness was shown this morning. Again, I would seek to tender it as a confidential Ruto defence exhibit. That's KEN OTP 00801068. The witness did identify it and its location.
Yes, once again we're objecting because in our submission it's very unclear from the questions asked on the record so far whether that is the location, and I will speak in guarded terms, whether that is the location that my learned friend was asking the witness about. And if I may just go through it very briefly, the witness was asked about the incident at location number 7 where she saw person number 8 being attacked, and she was asked, was there a school near that location? And the witness said yes. Now, when the photograph was subsequently shown to the witness, and of course that the school near the location of the beating was owned by a certain Mr. Something. When the photograph was then shown to the witness, it was not established or clarified with the witness whether the photograph is the same institution that was being referred to earlier, nor whether it is the school that was owned by that individual. So we suggest it's not been established that that is the school that was being asked about.
Ms. Lowry, in reply?
My recollection, I would have to check the transcript again, is that the witness did identify...
Speak with care, we're in public session.
I'm guided. That the witness did identify the location. She identified the name that I put to her. She also identified that it was in her area. I think sufficient information has been elicited that we can properly admit this photograph into evidence.
And argue about its significance later.
Certainly.
Mr. President, if I may just make one further point. When the witness was asked, is that the school near the location where you saw the beating? And the witness's reply was, that one is a bit further away.
If it helps at all.
Laura, can you speak to your last document?
The third document, certainly. That's the map. The ERN is KEN D0900330011. I would ask that it also be admitted as confidential. Mr. President, I think if you're alluding to the connection between the second item and the third item that I'm seeking to admit, then there obviously is a link. It is a map. The relevance of this map is that the witness has testified to various locations. Those locations are identified on the map. I would submit it's also probative. It's an open source document. There's sufficient indicia of reliability and authenticity that the bench will be able to assess its significance in due course. I would say also the overlap with the second item that I seek to tender is also significant. And on that basis, I would seek to have it admitted.
Mr. Pugliatti?
No objection.
The Chamber will admit the three items as the next in the Ruto defense exhibits. In relation to the second item, that is the photograph of the location we've been discussing, argument about the forensic value of that will be received in due course at the appropriate time.
I'm grateful.
But you have to wait.
Oh.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le document KEN D09 0033 0007 se verra attribuer la cote EVD T D09 00187. Le document KEN OTP 00801068 se verra attribuer la cote EVD T D09 00188. Et enfin, le document KEN D09 0033 0011 se verra attribuer la cote EVD T D09 00189. Ces trois documents sont confidentiels.
Thank you. Ms. Laura, please proceed.
I'm grateful. If I could ask the court officer to provide the witness with the defence PIS, I would be grateful. She has it, thank you. Madam, if you could look at the defence PIS in front of you. I'm not sure if you have it. I see that you have the map. Madam, if you can turn to the part of the PIS which lists names and, well, it's people and locations. Can you see that? It's on, I think, the second page of the PIS. Now, we're in public session, so I would remind you not to say any names. You know of the person marked as Person A on the Defence PIS. Now, I am conscious that you only know him by one of the names listed there. That's correct, isn't it? Please don't say the name.
Ndio namjua.
He's a Kalenjin, isn't he?
Ndio ni Mkalenjin.
I'm asking whether the individual is a Kalenjin, just for the clarity of the record.
Yeye ni Mkalenjin.
And you told the prosecution that during the violence, this person provided refuge to Kikuyus, didn't you?
Ndio nilisema.
And he did provide refuge to Kikuyus. You're aware of that, aren't you?
Najua.
Are you aware that Person A provided refuge to some Kikuyu neighbours and their children at his home on 30th December 2007, the night the presidential results were announced.
Hebu rudia hiyo swali tena.
Ms. Lowry, your point is as to the date, isn't it? And the event around the time.
Exactly.
All right. So witness, Ms. Lowry's question is that she is saying that the refuge that this person provided to Kikuyus was particularly on the 30th of December 2007, the night that the presidential results were announced. Do you know that?
Jaji mkuu, hapo siwezi sema kama ilikuwa tarehe 31st December, kwa sababu kujua huyu mtu number 1, kujua kama alisaidia Wakikuyu ni wakati ule alikuja Eldoret Showground. Ndio hapo nilijua kama alisaidia Wakikuyu. Hapo 31st na nini sikujua kama aliwasaidia, sikuwa na hiyo information.
Are you saying that you know that the person at number 1 did give refuge to Kikuyus, but you do not know the precise date when he did that? Is that what you're saying?
Sasa hapo sijui ilikuwa tarehe gani, kwa sababu nilijua wakati ule walikuja Eldoret Showground, ndio nilijua alisaidia Wakikuyu.
So just to confirm, you later came to know this information. That's correct, isn't it?
Baadaye tukiwa Eldoret Showground, ndiye yeye mwenyewe alikuja, ndio akasema watu walikuwa wanataka kumuua kwa sababu alisaidia Wakikuyu wakati wa post election.
Let's get that clearly on the record, Mr. Lowry, because it has relevance to the way you asked the second question earlier. You know what I'm getting at? All right, let me put it this way. Witness, I want to understand what you're saying. Are you saying that it was during your stay at the showgrounds that you learned that person A had given refuge to Kikuyus?
Nikiwa showground, yeah.
But you had no information as to the dates when he gave that refuge.
Sijui ilikuwa tarehe gani.
But it was during the post-election violence that he gave this refuge. That's correct, isn't it?
Ndio.
And did you hear that he took some of his Kikuyu neighbours' possessions, including some of their vehicles, for safekeeping? Did you hear that?
Wakati ule number 1 alikuja showground, alisema hata yeye alikuwa anataka kuuawa kwa sababu alisaidia Wakikuyu. Sasa sijui kama alificha magari ama nini. For my interview sijasema kama aliwafichia magari ama nini. Nilisema walikuwa wanataka kumuua hata kuchoma kwake kwa sababu alisaidia Wakikuyu wakati wa furugu.
For the clarity of the record, I mean kept for safekeeping, but I can move on. A final question, Madam Witness, about this topic is that, did you hear that the specifics of the threat and the situation that this individual found himself, fearing that he would be killed, arose because he escorted his Kikuyu neighbours as far as location A, and that's in the Defence PIS, and then the neighbours continued on to seek safety in Eldoret. Did you hear about that?
You will have to repeat that question, Ms. Lowry, but hold on. Witness, can you look at the document Ms. Lowry gave you were looking at? See where you see person A. If you look further down, there is a location, that is the name of a place. Do not mention it. Do not mention it. But do you see a certain place? That is the last item that appears on that document. Do you see it?
Ndio naona.
Ms. Lowry, now you can take back, repeat the question now that she knows what you'll be talking about.
Certainly, I'm grateful, Mr. President. Madam, did you hear that person A escorted, apologies, let me take it from the Madam, did you hear that the specifics of the threat and the situation that this individual found himself in, the fear that he would be killed, is because he escorted his Kikuyu neighbours as far as location A, and then his neighbours went on to Eldoret? Did you hear of those specifics?
Madam Wakili, nimekuambia na nimesema tena na tena kuhusu namba A. Nilimjua na nikasikia habari yake wakati ule chief walikuja Eldoret Showground kuchukua watu warudishe, na kitu ilikuwa inaitwa Operation Rudi Nyumbani. Vile chief alikuja, watu wakamkataa, wakasema alikataa kuwasaidia wakati wa furugu. Wakasema wanataka, ndio huyu mtu na bae akakuja, ndio akasema alisaidia Wakikuyu.
Right. Witness, one second, please. All right, so that we can quickly get the answer and move on to something else. If you know the details that Ms. Lowry just indicated, you can answer yes or no. If you don't know it, you can tell her you do not know that detail. Just answer the question only if you know about that detail. We realize you were not there when this happened. You were telling us what somebody told you at the showground. The task now for you is whether you can recognize the detail she's giving you in the story that you were given about what person A had done. So the question is, did you learn that the reason why person number A was exposed to risk at the time was because he had escorted the Kikuyu neighbors he was trying to protect, that he had escorted them all the way to location A, and then those people seeking refuge continues and on to Eldoret. Do you know that to be part of the story?
Mi sikupata.
Madam, you were resident at Eldoret Showground for more than a year and a half, weren't you?
Sijui ilikuwa miezi ngapi, lakini niliingia showground 2008 Januari 6, nikatoka 2009 tarehe 10 mwezi wa 10. Sasa sijui ni miezi ngapi hiyo.
During your time at Showground, the IDPs organised themselves and appointed various individuals to represent them, didn't they?
Walichagua.
They appointed chairmen and chairwomen for various matters, didn't they?
Ndio.
Madam, if you could take a look at the Defence PIS and look at the person listed at B. Don't say the name, please. Can you see the name? Just say yes or no.
Ndio naona.
You're aware, aren't you, that this person was an IDP chairperson? That's correct, isn't it?
Huyu simfahamu.
With leave, Mr. President, I would like to show the witness a photograph. It should be shown excuse me, confidentially, only in court, and the ERN is KEN D09 0033 0013. Madam, can you see the person on the screen? Just say yes or no.
Ndio.
Does this refresh your memory as to the person listed at person B? Is that her?
Ndio namfahamu.
Is the person in the photograph, is that person B on the Defence PIS? Please just say yes or no.
Bwana Jaji Mkuu, ungenikubali kidogo, ningestate kidogo ndio nielewe vile nataka kuuliza.
Private session.